Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to our lesson on social development, which will be divided into two parts. So, our objectives and standards to describe social development in children and compare different theories of social development. And if you would please take a look at the standards. We have our vocabulary preview, socialization, which is the process of learning the rules and behaviors of a culture in which an individual is born and will live. Identification, which is the process by which a child begins to adopt the values and principles of the same-sex parent. And sublimation, which is redirecting sexual impulses into learning tasks. So our central question, how do children develop socially? So children must learn the rules and behaviors of society they are going to live in, and this is called socialization. Now, it's not as easy as it seems, as rules can differ. Some rules are clear, while others are left to the individual. Rules can also change situation to situation, and certain rules apply to different genders as well, such as we expect boys to be tough and not to cry, or things like that, and we expect women or girls to be a little more emotional and sensitive. So there are certain social and cultural norms that we look at as well. There are difficulties that come with learning social rules as well. Different cultures have different identifications and roles for members of it, and children must also learn to live with others and recognize others have skills as well, such as, for an example, if a child is playing, baseball and they strike out, and then the next player comes up and hits a home run, well, that might be hard for a younger child to understand, like, how come I couldn't do that? How come I struck out? How come, my friend is better than me at baseball? So that might be hard for them to learn and live with, even, getting a student getting a better grade than someone, sometimes that's hard to understand as well. So social development in Freud. So Freud believed that children are born with powerful and aggressive sexual urges. Again, that was according to him. Learning to control these urges allows children to learn between right and wrong. Now, boys and girls are the same when they are born in terms of experiences, such as newborns use the pleasure of sucking to achieve their needs, such as maybe breastfeeding or things like that, or a bottle. So newborns, both females and males, use this idea of sucking to achieve their needs for sustenance. Now, the child begins to suffer frustration and conflict when the mother attempts to wean them from this practice. So here are the stages of psychosexual development according to Freud. Excuse me. So the first stage is the oral stage, and this is when the child will focus on pleasure with the mouth. And this occurs from the first 18 months of life. So here I have, like, it looks like a child's sucking on a spoon. So you'll see children obviously putting things in their mouth, sucking on pacifier, or or their clothing, or their fingers, their thumb. So again, this is a lot of times focused with putting things in their mouth and sucking on them, and that's the oral stage of this. The anal stage is focused on the pleasure of function of elimination, and this occurs from 1.5 to 3 years old. What I have here is a child trying to reach like a baby potty or a porta potty type thing, and what this has to deal with is children learning potty training. So children are learning to eliminate their bodily waste. So they're becoming potty trained and learning how to get rid of that human waste. The phallic stage is focused on the pleasure of the genitals, and this occurs from 3 to 6 years old. And in this stage, this is when boys and girls begin to realize that they have different body parts from a girl or a boy. Girls may have long hair, boys have short hair, whatever the case may be. They begin to realize the differences between boys and girls. They understand that they are a boy and that's a girl, or they are a girl and that's a boy. And this is also when identification occurs. So a child will typically begin to identify with the roles and characteristics of the parent of the same sex. So if it's a boy, he'll begin to identify with the role of his father, such as, his father using tools to work around the house, or his father, playing sports, watching his father with football, or, or playing baseball with his dad. And with women, it could be the same way, watching their mother care for maybe a younger sibling, a baby. This is when a girl may want to have a baby doll of her own and pretend to care for the baby doll, or a stuffed animal, pretending to care for a stuffed animal like their mother cares for a pet. Even helping to clean or going grocery shopping. I know, sometimes they have those miniature shopping carts that kids can push around the grocery store. So sometimes the little girl will be seen pushing the shopping cart and, have one or two items in the shopping cart as the mom shops. Or maybe she has a fake purse, a little purse or makeup bag or something like that. Maybe she puts makeup on her baby doll. So again, just identifying with what their parent does. And again, this isn't always typically true, but for the most part, this is what children go through. The latency stage is focused on less sexual thoughts, and they look to social and intellectual skills. So this is, again, referring to sublimation, where kids will begin to not focus so much on their sexual or relationship needs, but looking just to make friends with people, schoolwork, things like that. This is when we see like the whole stage of, ew, boys and girls have cooties. Boys have clubs and don't want to hang out with girls, or girls, don't want to hang out with boys. The awkward stage of going to a dance, or holding hands. This is when kids go through that stage of, ew, cuties, I don't want to be with a boy, I don't want to hang out with a girl, that's gross. So that's the stage we're talking about here. They're focused more on hanging out and making their own friends, and becoming intellectually smart. And then the final stage of this is the genital stage, and this is from puberty, so from teenage years to adulthood, and through adulthood. So this is when teenagers begin to, again, go back to focusing on the opposite sex, or sexual desires again, and they begin to look to form relationships with others. So they're looking to form relationships with boys and girls, and also looking to find that possible partner that they want to spend some time with. Now, the views of Erick Erickson were different from Freud. Now, Erickson believed that there were sexual desires that may be true for children, but he also saw development in terms of social approval. So he believes that, yes, there are these sexual desires that are pushing kids in life, but he believed that kids also develop in a different social term. And he looked at psychosocial development, which refers to life periods where individuals focus on social needs. Now, Erickson saw development as a lifelong interactive process between people. So there are 8 stages, so we'll go through the first 4 here. So the first stage is trust versus mistrust, and this occurs in early infancy. So is my world predictable and supportive? So am I going to be safe? The second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt, and this occurs from 1 to 3 years old, such as, can I do things by myself, or do I have to have others do that for me? Helping me to change, helping to feed me, things like that our brain is thinking. The third stage is initiative versus guilt, and this is occurring from 3 to 6 years old. Am I good or bad? Obviously, maybe you all had the parent countdown thing. I know I did. Like, I'll give you to the count of 3 to pick up your toys. I'll give you to the count of 3 to put your plate in the sink. And you wondered if you were being good or bad. Or if you accidentally broke a glass or colored on the wall. I know I did when I was a kid. Am I being good or bad? The fourth stage is industry versus inferiority, and this occurs from 6 to 12 years old. And this is when children begin to wonder, am I successful or am I worthless? So am I, contributing? Am I doing a good job? Am I working hard? Am I making my parents happy? Things like that. So here are the final 4 stages of Erickson's stages of psychosocial development. The fifth stage is identity versus role confusion, and this occurs in the early teenage years. And this is the big question of, who am I? And many of you may be going through this yourself in your life right now. How do I fit in the world? What do I want to do? Who am I as a person? The sixth stage, intimacy versus isolation, occurs in the early adult years. Big question, shall I share my life with someone, or do I want to live alone and just take care of myself? Do I want to have a family? How many kids do I want to have? The seventh stage is generativity versus stagnation. This occurs in the middle adult years, such as like middle-aged. People begin to question, am I being successful? Will I be successful in life? Things like that. And then the eighth stage, the last stage, is ego integrity versus despair, the later adult years, the elderly years, things like that. And this is when we begin the question, have I lived a full life? All right. So wrap up here. So children learn and grow into their society and culture. Again, this isn't always easy because different societies have different rules and different functions. So sometimes it can be difficult. Sigmund Freud believed that children have aggressive sexual desires and urges, which help them develop socially throughout life. And then Erick Erickson, well, he believed with some of the things Freud was saying, he also said that there were other social elements to development. And I kind of put a little bit of a chart there, the same things we just went over. You can kind of see some of it a little bit. But again, there's other social needs in life than just sexual desires, is what Erick Erickson believed. All right, so that's all I have for this lesson. So if you would be so kind to complete the questions, try your best on them. Let me know if you have any issues, and I'll see and talk to you soon.